This view, it may look beautiful to you. To me, it reminds me of how long we've been gone. I barely recognize this landscape. I grew up here when it was called the Broodlands. I used to tend to the life shrine so many years ago. Then we left to help safeguard the mortals. The reason I'm here, looking over this alien landscape, is because for such a long time, I dreamed about returning here. This was my home. I never expected we would be gone for so long. After a while, I never expected to return. You can probably remember where you grew up, the smell of your parents' cooking, or you can remember playing with your friends who lived close by. Now imagine you've forgotten how to get to your childhood home. You can never visit it again, can never walk the paths of your childhood. Perhaps you think me overly sentimental. You try living for 10,000 years, never being able to visit your home, finally visit it only to find it completely different, and then come back to me. Although, I used to visit Teldrassil when I could. Now it's yet another thing we shall both never see again. I imagine you can relate to what I speak of. I can barely believe that it's been that long since we left. You can't imagine how awful that time was. The fear that surrounded us. The sundering. The betrayal of the Black Dragonflight, the Dragon Wars. You may call it something different, but I was there, and that's what it was called. All the Dragonflights versus the Black Dragonflight. You would think it'd be an easy fight. 4 versus 1 after all, even with the Demon Soul. The Blue Flight was nearly destroyed in Neltharion's initial strike, so 3-1. Still great odds, until you realize what it was like. This wasn't some unknown menace. This wasn't some great evil looming like the Legion was. These were our friends. Our loved ones. It was awful not knowing what was going on. Thinking there was something you could do to snap them out of it. They were my friends, and they were killing my brothers and sisters. I had many friends in that Dragonflight, some as close as clutch mates. Growing up, we used to play pranks on the elders. I remember one time we coated Alexstrasza's tail in honey while she slept, and what does it matter? My best friend was of the Black Dragonflight. We intermingled a lot back in those days. Not like now, where most flights keep to themselves. Isn't it funny? I can't remember her name. I can remember her face. I can remember how the light bounced off her beautiful scales. But I can't remember her name. I can remember the horror when I came home to find her standing over the bodies of my family. Practically her family. I can remember the gut-wrenching despair as I plunged my claw into her throat, and I remember the hate in her eyes as the light went out in them. But I can't remember her name. I've always wondered, if I had been a better friend, could I have prevented it? Did she not feel like she could come to me as she felt the corruption starting? Abyssian was cleansed. There must have been something that I could have done. But she didn't come to me. Must have felt like she couldn't talk to me about it. If I was a better friend, if I had told her, oh Titans, if I had told her how I felt, could it have gone differently? I loved her, and I can't remember her name.